The Synod on Synodality is set to consider the final parts of the Global Gathering's working document. At the same time, participants are also sharing their own experiences as part of the daily briefings. EWTN Vatican News Correspondent Colm Flynn has more.
A new identity.
It's the third week of the Synod at the Vatican, and they've begun work on the final phase of this year's Synod. The gathering today opened with an emotional appeal from Dominican Father Timothy Radcliffe.
But we are called to embrace a deeper sense of who we are as the improbable friends of the Lord, whose scandalous friendship reaches across every boundary. Many of us wept when we heard of that young woman who committed suicide because she was bisexual and did not feel welcomed in the church. I wept. I hope it changed us. The Holy Father reminds us all are welcome.
Yet this is just one moment of many focused on the hot-button issues facing the Church.
It's true, there's been 4.
Archbishop Anthony Fisher from Sydney, Australia, spoke exclusively to EWTN News, saying that he thinks too much time is being spent on these issues, when really the focus should be on bringing people back to the faith.
There's been a big, long discussion about the ordination of women, and there's a lot of tension and emotion around an issue like that.
For Archbishop Fisher, however, the big issue is something else.
The big issue for the Church today, particularly in the cultures I know, the Western world, where we've got the rise of the nuns, N-O-N-E-S, not N-U-N-S, the ones that say they have no faith. When there's a census, they write no religion, or just tick the no religion box. And that's going up and up and up, particularly amongst young people. You're looking at, in many populations now, half the young people are saying that they have no religion, even more. In the end, so much more serious than tinkering at the edges about whether 0.001% of women might be deaconesses or women deacons. It's trivial compared to the huge loss of faith that we have happening, particularly in whole generations at the moment.
So just a couple of things.
The Archbishop's feelings were echoed by fellow Australian and Synod participant, Professor Renee Kohler-Ryan. She spoke at the Synod press conference yesterday. She said the issue of female priesthood is a niche issue that does not reflect the needs of women today.
As a woman, I'm not focused at all on the fact that I'm not a priest. I think that there's too much emphasis placed on this question. And what happens when we place too much emphasis on this question is that we forget about what women, for the most part, need throughout the world.
Es decir, que uno no puede lograr una seguridad.
This week, Pope Francis also spoke directly about the Synod in an interview with Spanish TV. He talked about how the Church must move forward.
La Iglesia tiene que cambiar.
The Church has to change. Let's think of the ways it has changed since the Council until now, and the way it must continue changing its ways, and the way to propose an unchanging truth. And it has to keep changing along the way, as challenges are met. That is why the core of change is fundamentally pastoral, without recanting the essence of the Church.
Is the relation
This week, participants are also working on the Synod's final report for this session. Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, who was appointed by Pope Francis to guide the Synod's discussion as Relator General, gave some initial insights on what to expect after that.
The end of this first session of this Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops coincides with the beginning of an equally important phase of the process, the time between the two sessions, which will see us committed to returning to the churches from which we come, the fruits of our work.
At the Synod in Rome, Colm Flynn, EWTN News Nightly.